Hello everyone, good evening. Wednesday night again. Where are we? Around about 5:30. Now, I think people will be joining as I'm speaking. We're going to make a prompt start tonight because I think tonight's topic is one that does have potential to run over. I think it does have potential for a good healthy chat and the start of a conversation that we probably won't want to finish promptly. So let's dive straight in. Now, tonight's session is about overcoming loneliness after a relationship breakdown. Okay, it's a very important topic. We're not taking a deep dive into a family law issue tonight. Instead, we're leaping into relationship breakdown from a different angle. And obviously, we're going to be talking about loneliness. That's why you've signed up for this. And it's a topic that you'll have an interest in, whether it's for yourself personally or for a friend or a relative. You might even be a law student or a solicitor, and you're interested in expanding your knowledge and learning more. Now, we're in the midst of what's called a loneliness pandemic. Loneliness has become a very serious health concern, and there are some pretty shocking statistics out there. I went down a bit of a rabbit hole earlier today on the Campaign to End Loneliness website with the statistics on there. It says that loneliness is likely to increase your risk of death by 26%. We know it has detrimental health effects. It increases the risk of high blood pressure. Loneliness and social isolation together will put individuals at greater risk of cognitive decline and also dementia. And also the number of over 50s now experiencing loneliness has risen 49% in 10 years. Okay. Now, I have to confess that some of the reading I did earlier today really did make me stop and think. The statistics are pretty shocking. Now, in my day-to-day working life as a divorce lawyer, I'm helping people navigate their way through relationship breakdown. I'm there to secure a fair deal for them, a legally binding financial settlement. And the time I spend with my clients has to be cost effective, and we have to deliver results. But I don't always get the additional time to take care of an issue such as loneliness. I can recommend third parties, but my job is to do the best legal job I can for my clients. Now, everybody knows that when a relationship comes to an end, everybody reacts differently. Now, it impacts areas of your life that perhaps you didn't anticipate, and it brings change. In some instances, it can create a loss of identity. That might be temporary, it might be a significant one. We're facing this pretty much head on tonight, and I'm hoping it's not all doom and gloom, but I think you will find tonight's session uplifting. Our special guest tonight is Tosh Brittan, who is a divorce coach and founder of Divorce Goddess Coaching. Now, for those of you who don't know Tosh, this is really a lady who you need in your life. Please have a look at her website, divorcegoddess.com. She has a bit of a cult following, so I'm very excited to meet her tonight. She's also got a strong media presence, and we're huge fans actually here at Stowe's. Now, Tosh is going to cover several different things for us. She's going to cover how loneliness can easily sneak up on people, the differences between the types of loneliness that there is, how embracing loneliness can actually be positive. It can help you remove the fear and uncomfortableness around it. We're going to get some practical advice tonight. And we're also going to talk about how to show kindness and divorce to each other, but also yourself, and practical tips regarding how to rebuild to a more positive and a fuller life. Now, before Tosh starts with her presentation, we've got some housekeeping. Now, some of you might be new to us. Welcome. Some listeners tonight might be regular listeners. If so, welcome back. It's lovely to see you again. Now, you've probably obviously got an interest, as I've said, in this subject. Our content is driven by what you want to know about. So please feel free to give us some feedback. That would be great. We are recording tonight's session. For questions, there is the Q&A function, the usual Q&A function on Zoom. So please put questions there. but we've also got the chat function enabled. So you are able to leave comments and interact. It is a safe space, obviously, for everyone to listen and ask questions. So please be respectful on the chat. I know you will be. And that's really the main housekeeping points that I've got. As usual, I'm accompanied by Arthur, the legal beagle, who may well be a little bit vocal during this. I can only apologise in advance. I think perhaps the best option now is to make a start. Tonight's format is obviously Tosh's presentation and then questions. So, Tosh, if you're there and you can hear me, the floor is all yours.
Hello, just unmuted myself. So thank you, Sarah, for a lovely introduction, and I'm really happy to be here. And thank you to those of you who have joined as well. Loneliness is a big one. And when I was putting these slides together, I kind of was really sort of dipping into my own journey, my clients' journeys, and really as well looking at the bigger picture and hopefully to be able to provide some tips and tools for you and insights as well into why we feel lonely, and especially going through divorce and separation as well, and what we can do about it. And I'm all for flipping and changing the narrative. So if there's something that feels sort of particularly difficult, it's like, what can you see? How can you grow out of it? And yeah, and I just want to say I'm always grateful to Stowe for their support as well. So yeah, this is me, and I'm hoping my thing's going to work. Just be able to do my screen. There we go. There we go. I am a divorcee, and I'm a child of divorced parents. I say child of divorced parents because I love my parents, but they still don't speak to each other. Oh, crikey, we're talking about sort of 40 years later, and now it's about grandchildren as well. And I just, you know, when I was going through my divorce, I was like, this is not going to happen in my divorce. So that was a really conscious choice I made to not repeat what my parents have done, and I thank them actually, because we've all had a better experience, and obviously my blog and my work has come out of that. I've been a divorce coach since 2015. I trained to be MBSR mindfulness teacher, so I come very much from a place of doing the work yourself and to help you in that journey of self-discovery and self-empowerment. I started my Divorce Goddess blog in 2014, and my podcast I started in 2019, and it did very well in the US charts and the UK relationship charts. So I think it got to number 41, I think. Not that I knew about that, somebody told me, which was amazing, but yeah, so I'm also author of Kindness of Conflict, which is a guide to separation and divorce. And anything that I'm going to be talking in here, there will be a whole lot more in my book, and there'll be details at the end. Okay, so every time I do any work with anybody, I always ask whoever I'm talking to or speaking with or, you know, coaching, on a scale of 1 to 10, how lonely are you? So it's really checking in with yourself. So I just want to begin with you all just taking a moment just to check in with how lonely you feel. And to give you an example, it's like when somebody says, oh, my back really hurts. And you say, okay, oh my goodness, like your back. And they go, whereabouts in your back? And they go, oh, this little bit down here. So it's not all of your back. And when people talk around saying, I'm so lonely, it's like, are you lonely all the time, or are you only lonely some of the time? But because the mind monkeys, and I'm going to refer to the DMMs, the divorce mind monkeys, they have this ability to really grow this, you know, the problems, the issues, the challenges, the difficulties, and the painful moments we have in our lives. So it's being really kind of aware of the impact of how they behave. I'm just wondering about the chat as well. Yeah, so I don't know if anybody wants to commit to, you know, on a scale how lonely you are, you're welcome to put it in the chat just to get an idea of, you know, how we're all feeling. I know that there are some moments when I get really caught out and I'm like, wow, is this loneliness or is this aloneness? And I'm going to be talking about this as well. So please do put, oh, amazing. Thank you. I'm always very, very grateful to anybody who commits and is brave enough to answer very honest questions honestly as well. So thank you for that. Okay, it's, you know, it's a big thing. Okay, so, and honesty is, you know, having those really honest conversations with ourselves is hugely important for us to be able to overcome the challenges and difficulties we have in life. Okay, here are some figures. 45% of adults feel lonely occasionally, sometimes, or often lonely in England. That's like, I guess it's probably about like 23 million. I mean, that is a lot of people. 33% of adults surveyed in over 29 countries said they had experienced loneliness. So, you know, when we feel, I just want to say, when we feel that, you know, when we're in our little lonely world of like, oh my goodness me, it's good to remember that there are many, many people also out there feeling this. And I'm going to be talking about how we can all get a little bit better at connecting as well and helping ourselves. Okay, so what is loneliness? It is a universal emotion. It's perceived isolation. It's social pain. So, you know, I would say social pain. It's the judgment, the culture we live in. The perceived isolation is like, you know, we are all, you know, the first place we go into is thinking we're not good enough. We're, you know, we're not loved, we're not liked for whatever reason. And we're talking about divorce as well. So we're talking about, you know, how other people see us, how they react to us. You know, so often clients are like, oh, we really miss our friends and our married friends don't talk to us anymore, or they've stepped back. This is about them, not you. So it's really sort of understanding that it's not always about us. It's other people's perceptions and judgments and society. And also loneliness is associated with a lack of intimacy and connection. Obviously, when we're going through separation and divorce, very, very easy to sort of miss that, you know, walking in the front door. And if you have a dog, the best, right? And but you know, somebody said, oh, you know, how's your day? Have a cup of tea. That, you know, walk in the front door. And if you've got older children, I've got now an empty nest. Sometimes I'm like, wow, it'd be really nice to have somebody make me a cup of tea. And that's sort of just general connection, having people around, and especially if you have older children. I think this is why Sarah's alluding to, you know, the sort of 50s. You know, we have empty nests now, and really there is that, yeah, it's growing, but we're going to be really super clever about this and empowered. So by the end of this webinar, divorce and loneliness. So obviously it's a life change. Two people become one, it becomes you. And we talk about the judgment of others. And I mentioned about friends and people not knowing really what to say. I think personally, in my experience, there are a lot of couples who don't really want anybody who's been divorced near them. I think it shines a bit of a spotlight on maybe some of the cracks in their own marriage, and they don't want to be near that. And I would suggest as well that you know, that's their stuff again. Society, we are all, you know, we're all in our homes. I think gone are the days where, you know, if I'm 54, I'm going to be 55 this year. So going down the pub and meeting everybody, of course, you know, my age, I probably don't, but we really have to make more of an effort to see people. And obviously the last couple of years has really knocked the stuffing out of social lives. And you know, we're kind of all out a bit more out of practice of meeting up, and things have dropped along the way. And And the other thing I was going to say is social media. You know, social media has become a big part of people's lives. And so often, you know, I was in London last week, and just so aware of people, everybody's on their phones all the time. And social media is helpful. It is a connection to see what other people are doing. And I'm going to come on to that as well, because it is good and bad when you're going through divorce, and it exacerbates those feelings of loneliness. But also, you know, our lives are sort of focused on these devices. I think mine's over on the other side of the desk. But social media is also something that, you know, that Friday night where you may decide to drop in, have it, you know, the notifications are on, and just say, turn all your notifications off, right? Just turn them off. Friday night, drop the children off, and you come in the front door, phone goes on, got a glass of wine, notifications, and you're scrolling through looking at what everybody else is doing. And that is a surefire way to absolutely walking into loneliness. That's like an invitation to treat to loneliness. So if you can plan to do something on a Friday night, just please just take your notifications off if you know you're going to be spending a weekend on your own. And just like the mind monkeys, divorce mind monkeys are going to be encouraging you to do that, right? Because that is what they do. But if you can just resist. I'm going to be talking about this a little bit more as well. So loneliness is a choice, and it is arguably, like people say, well, if I choose to be alone, that is my choice as well. But loneliness is also a choice, and it really is about us taking responsibility about how we feel and what we do. For example, like social media, you know, we enter into it, we're feeling lonely. Where are we seeking perhaps unhealthily the places which are not going to nurture us, which are going to exacerbate that feeling of loneliness? Choosing to be alone, there's probably many of you just kind of love going out for a dog walk or getting out and just getting some air and just being out on your own. And we all need that balance of being with people and having time on your own. I guess the choice of being alone is more empowering for you, but actually loneliness is also something that we can choose. And I just want to show you something here. I've got 2 arrows, which from my mindfulness training. And the first, I just want to share this story. So the first arrow is what happens. So it might be that feeling of loneliness when you're in the house on your own, or you've got a weekend, or the children have gone off. And that is the event, if you like. And then you have the second arrow, and the second arrow is what you choose to do with it. Yeah, make yourself feel more lonely by just diving in, maybe into the sauce wine, whatever you want to do, sit in there. I had a client who used to never smoked and used to buy cigarettes and alcohol and chocolate and literally sit and just feel utterly miserable and dejected all weekend until she started working with me. And just literally just hunkered down and just wanted and just didn't know what to do. She was just absolutely, she was in a terrible way. So you have a choice. So loneliness, do you invite it in or do you accept it? And we're going to be working with that. So to try and see what says, it's covering up on my... So victim versus empowerment. Yeah. Do you want to be a victim of loneliness? We know it exists. And we have a choice. We can go, okay, so loneliness exists. What am I going to do about it? Am I going to do something so I am with it more? And I'm going to talk about I'm moving into this area about how we embrace it and we invite it into our lives and we live with it and we accept it and we practice that lovely acceptance of that it is in our lives, it's in all our lives, rather than fighting it and sort of sweeping it under the carpet and just like, you know, oh, it doesn't exist. Because we all know with things like this, we have those molehills and they turn into mountains. So the trick is with loneliness is to be with it. self-care. We can, loneliness is about adopting healthy habits, knowing around those times that you are going to be lonely. So for example, that loneliness comes in. So noticing the acronym HAILT, HELT, which is taken from HALT, except this time it's hungry, angry, ill, lonely, and tired, you know, and it's checking in with yourself. How do you feel? And if on a Friday afternoon you've had a terrible week at work, perhaps, or you've fallen out, or something has happened, or the kids are unwell and they don't really want to go away for the weekend, and you walk through the front door and you're feeling hungry and probably angry, you're feeling a bit unwell, feeling exhausted, is this going to exacerbate loneliness? So it really is about checking in with yourself, getting really good at just checking in with yourself anyway, irrespective of loneliness, something that is really helpful for you, right? Just check in with yourself during the day. Set an alarm, a check-in alarm every 2-3 hours, just to go, right, what do I need to help myself? You know, how am I feeling? Am I feeling anxious? Have I got these increasing feelings of loneliness on a Friday afternoon, about dropping the children off, seeing my ex? How is that going to be? You know, perhaps the children are going to go away for a weekend. They're going to see some old friends, maybe the new partner's in there as well. And all of this is huge. And we mustn't underestimate how much this affects us, right? So just check in with yourself. Habits. I don't know if alcohol works for you and helps you in any way. I'm not sure it's particularly helpful. I'm not saying don't drink alcohol. I'm not saying, you know, but just notice the reasons why you want to drink alcohol. Is it to drown your sorrows, or because you're sitting there and you've got friends around and maybe you're having a glass of wine, or, you know, or whatever, non-alcoholic, but just noticing whether, and I know alcohol, I don't have the figures, but I do know alcohol is not helpful regarding anxiety as well. And I'm not an expert on that, so, but interesting to maybe do some reading on this. Pleasurable mastery activities, right? So you got a lonely weekend coming up, bank holiday weekends. I used to dread bank holiday weekends. It was like 3 days I had to like fill and, you know, sort out, and I was just so bad at reaching out and asking for friends. So if you've got a bank holiday weekend coming up, maybe you've heard somebody's having a party and this and that, and you might not be invited. It compounds that sense of self-worth. So pleasurable activities. Do something lovely for yourself. Yeah, just like have a bath in the middle of the day, stay in bed, read a favorite book, all these lovely things that you can do for yourself, like take yourself off to on a lovely walk. Maybe just go and see some friends, do things that nurture you. Mastery activities are the activities that we kind of know we need to do, but we kind of don't do them, like the downstairs cupboard might need to be cleared out, or children's toys, or going through photos if you're feeling brave, super brave if you're feeling lonely. And a mastery activity is something that when you do it, you have a sense, it's purposeful, and you have a sense of completion, of mastery. You've done something with your time. So whilst it's, it might be tempting just to do a Netflix series, at the end of it, it'd be at the end of the weekend or time when you haven't got your children with you, or if you're on your own, irrespective, actually for you to be able to go, do you know what, I had a really productive weekend, and you feel good about yourself. And there's some of the stuff that's been taken off the list that probably has been nagging away and eating away at you for a while. So really use this time productively. And the other thing I was just going to say is just be kind, just remember that. Just go easy on the words you use about yourself. Yeah, I'm so, whatever, I'm so stupid, I'm such an idiot, I'm not loved. Whatever the words you use about yourself, start being really on it about the words you use. Yeah, get really, really mindful, because there's a wonderful quote that, Yeah, I can't believe it's actually in my book. The words you use become the house you live in. I think it's Hafiz, I think, is the poet. And yeah, so just be really aware. If you're walking around saying, I'm this, I'm that, you're kind of building a house that you live in, and you're worth more than that. You're going through far more than feeling, like piling all this stuff on top. Yeah. So one of the tricks I share with clients is to say, if you're feeling lonely, to say, I'm doing lonely. I'm doing it. I'm doing loneliness. I'm doing it. Great. Then you have control. It's not forever like I'm lonely. Lonely's got no boundaries. It could be like forever, right? If you're going, actually today or this weekend, I'm going to do lonely, then it feels a bit more, it feels a bit more, you've got some control over it. And it gives you permission to feel it, because it's okay to feel lonely as well. And I think kind of the whole societal thing is that there is shame around it for being lonely, and so the more you can take responsibility and choose to do lonely, mark out time in your weekend, maybe just say, for 2 hours, I'm going to feel lonely. And it's very interesting. It's very interesting what happens when you give difficult thoughts time and you go, right, I'm going to sit with being lonely. Right, what is it? How am I going to feel lonely now? And suddenly all the loneliness kind of runs away. And it's very interesting. You might want to try a little experiment at home. Okay, so other things you can do if you're feeling lonely is plan ahead, reach out to friends. Sometimes we have to be brave. We have to combine seeing people with time for you, right? So reach out. Don't be afraid to ask people what they are doing. And certainly at the beginning of your separation, divorce, unless you know other divorcees, it's really hard. It is genuinely really hard. And you might be the first people in your group, and it literally is like the pariah. But you don't have to feel like that. Just trust. If you are brave and you step outside of your comfort zone, that is where the magic happens. And I talk about the comfort zone as actually your discomfort zone, because it's where you stay small, because you know everything. And when divorce happens and your life explodes and you end up down this rabbit hole where nothing is, it seems, go for it. Be brave. Reach out. What have you got to lose? It's like the whole of your world's exploded anyway. You might as well just go and just be completely and utterly brave and just out there anyway. Volunteer and help others. I used to go and volunteer in a cancer unit in a hospital in the Royal Surrey. And I literally, I'm a Reiki master, and I used to go and do treatments. I had one afternoon a week, the kids were at school, and I used to go and do, and I literally was so grateful for my life. And whatever was going on in my life, I was just so grateful for my health and just being able to help others as well and reach out and and I'm sure there are places where you in your local area that desperately need people to help. So reach out. Keep a gratitude journal. I know this is talked about a lot, but just to remind yourself of what you do have in your life, and just write down 100, I call it the gratitude 100 list, right? Write down 100 things you're grateful for in your life, and that will just smash anything or any kind of low kind of feelings that you may be feeling. And just write down, maybe if you're feeling lonely, go, right, okay, what is it exactly I'm lonely about? And get all your thoughts onto a piece of paper, or onto a notepad. And it's very interesting to look back as well and to see how far you've come. So it's always quite a good, a way of just sort of monitoring what's happening. Forgive yourself, You're going through a really tough time. I just said earlier, I'm doing lonely. Just forgive yourself. You're just a human being going through the second most hardest human experience. It's a living grief. It's okay to feel lonely. It's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. So again, that element of self-kindness. Exercise mindfulness, check in with yourself. Like, what do I need? Ask, ask, what do I need? Check in, look after yourself. Look after yourself first, putting your oxygen mask on. Be the best version of yourself. So be your own best friend first, and then you're more likely to attract those who share what you also love. And one of the things about divorce is it's very easy to go in and just beat ourselves up and just go, oh my God, whether you left or, you were left. And to think that actually you're unlovable, that nobody, your self-worth is really low. So be your best friend first. Get to know, start liking yourself, start getting to know yourself. And I know this is the time where you're like, no, I just don't. But try this. Just give it time. Just start hanging out with yourself. And it feels a bit weird saying this. And I remember when somebody said it to me years ago, I was a bit like, oh, that's a bit weird. But actually it was like, just be with you, or make some time during those times where you're a bit worried about being on your own, but actually go, I'm going to celebrate being on my own and get to know me. Has anybody got any questions in the, we'll probably do it later, yeah. So this is something really interesting. I remember towards the end of my marriage, and I wrote a blog saying, is divorce lonely better than married lonely? And there are many, many people I know or have known, including myself, who is actually really, really lonely in my marriage. And this is the thing, you can be in a room of 100 people, but if there's something within you that is upset, you don't feel so good enough, and you don't want to talk about it, you can feel lonely, right? Not one person other than you can stop those divorce mind monkeys telling you that you are lonely. So we've really got to kind of welcome in this rather than sweeping it, as I mentioned earlier, under the mat, forgetting about it, pretending it doesn't exist, because it is. And the whole world is literally being shown that lonely does exist, obviously with the numbers I mentioned before. So you can decide to adopt new habits that help you lean into being lonely, like spending time for yourself, marking out time, being with it, journaling, changing how you are looking, speaking and acting, how you are looking, speaking and acting when you're lonely. So, when we're lonely, you feel a lot of people kind of physically are kind of hunched over, or they put their heads down, or they're not sort of engaging with people. Even people love being said hello to in the street. There is nothing so lovely. There's a really lovely story where there was this older guy older gentleman, he was walking down the street, probably about 70 years old, and he literally was on his own, and he was saying hello to everybody. And do you know what? Everybody was saying hello to him. There are people looking back, and I was noticing this. Everybody was so happy they said hello. He said hello to them. And we can say hello to people. Go and put ourselves in a busy cafe, sit there, have a coffee on your own, and just observe and notice, and don't be fooled by the fact there are lots of happy families maybe out. We've got the bank holiday weekends, as I mentioned. We do not know what is happening behind those doors with those families. And if you were at the end of your marriage, or you think about it, or whatever you're presenting or you did present, was it the truth? And when we go out and we see all these happy families, we don't know what is going on. So just being really mindful that it could be a lot of people, there are unhappy couples who are out this weekend. Speaking, acting when you're lonely. So when you're speaking, saying, like, oh, I'm like beating yourself up, and acting when you're lonely, locking yourself away, doing a bit of like pressing that self-destruct button. If you know your self-destruct button, what are your habits? Yeah. Just noticing those and just thinking, actually this weekend, or just for part of this weekend, I'm going to choose not to indulge in them. I'm going to change my habits, adopt new habits, look after me first, because when you look after you, you show up best. And then you are better able to be kinder. And I go, ooh, there we go. So the biggest tip, maybe not what you thought, you've got to make loneliness your friend. This is the big thing. You've got to make friends with it. This is the irony. This is the kicker about loneliness. You've got to make it your friend. You've got to find a way to welcome it in, help it be your friend. And I talk about this on the blog. And I think I've done a podcast episode on it as well. If I haven't, I'm going to upload one soon. But really making it your friend. Yeah. And just going, right, here you are. Let's spend the weekend together. Or here you are. Let's spend Saturday together. Welcome loneliness in. Yeah. And when we welcome it in, it's going to be less noisy because it doesn't need our attention because we've welcomed it in. Okay. Okay, so how kindness, finishing off on kindness, how kindness can help with loneliness, with your ex, all of this, and I'm going to be talking through. So committing to you first, when you are more empowered, when you focus on what you can control, like looking after your well-being, your mental health, your emotional health, yeah, doing mastery activities, pleasurable activities, really planning all those things I've mentioned. Yeah, you are saying yes to yourself first. It's very easy when going through separation and divorce to want to kind of, you know, like look after everybody else. But actually it's, and we're kind of conditioned that it's selfish to do that. But going through everything you're managing with maybe difficult exes, paperwork, money worries, moving house, co-parenting, all this stuff, you've got to be, your battery's got to be fully charged. And this is like super, super important. I cannot impress upon you enough how important this is. And I put a lot of this stuff on my Instagram, so go check it out on Divorce Goddess, on all this stuff. Co-parenting. So kindness, right, okay, so here's a classic example, okay? You maybe just had a weekend, you maybe have had a terrible weekend, friends may have bailed on you, you've ended up spending a weekend on your own for whatever reason, your children have had an amazing weekend with your ex, perhaps with their new partner, and literally you're turning up feeling like Norman no mates. I don't know why Norman always gets it, but somebody might be able to clarify on the messages on the chat. But you turn up and you're probably in the best place to be triggered, right? Children have radars. They're going to pick up on somebody who's feeling probably hungry, angry, ill, lonely, tired, hungover, you know, like just whatever you are. Feeling lonely, feeling like maybe frustrated, bitter, if you've been left, and they've all had this, and here you are, and it's like this is so unfair. This is a prime time for it kicking off in front of the children. So kindness, check in. If you've had a weekend like that and you're doing a pickup with your children, please just give yourself half an hour to really kind of just check in with yourself, go for a walk, just be kind to yourself, write it all out on paper, maybe phone a friend who's a balanced friend, who's not gonna like, you know, who hates your ex. We don't want one of those friends on the phone just before you go and do pickups and drop-offs. We want somebody who's balanced, who cares about you, who's just gonna like put everything into perspective before you pick up the children, okay? And just know this time is not going to be forever. Co-parenting, it goes so fast. I know we don't feel it at the time, but being there for your children and not having your children worry about you over the weekend is really important. And whilst it's really lovely, like, I miss you, I'll miss you so much. Like, no, don't say that to your children, because they're going to then worry that you might not be okay. And that if you're missing them, it's perhaps because for whatever reason. Okay, so you wish them well, get yourself into a good place before you pick them up. like honor yourself first. And actually, you don't really want your ex seeing you having had a crap weekend. Yeah. You want your ex to see you in your power. And I talk about the lighthouse. Yeah. So when you're in your lighthouse, don't be tempted with the divorce mind monkeys to go end up being taken into the bushes at the bottom with a torch, and the drama and the tiredness and the hungry, lonely, angry, all that stuff. You get yourself into a place so you are in your power. This is really interesting, noticing when you're being taken down and your kind of energy levels get depleted. You end up having an argument, maybe you fall out, the kids see it, you come back home, you beat yourself up, you're worried you've upset your kids or damaged your kids or whatever it is. Like, all of this can be all of this can be better with just checking in with yourself. Yeah. So really remember that, especially if you've had a tough weekend. What works for you? The other thing we want to talk about briefly is dating sites and navigating new relationships, right? If dating sites give you somebody to talk to because you're feeling lonely, you are going to attract, I've spoken to a lot of people about this, you are going to attract the same people who are feeling lonely, right? You are going to attract like with like. Do the work on you first. Get yourself into such a place that you don't need somebody. Yeah. But actually, it'd be really nice to have somebody walk along shoulder to shoulder you and do cool stuff and make new memories in the future. So just be aware if dating sites are giving you something because you feel lonely, and there are lots of people feeling lonely, all piling in on there, and there's gaslighting, there's ghosting, there's all sorts of manner of behavior. It really is. There's no accountability. And I would almost say, I don't like the term narcissist, and I very rarely use it because I think it's overused, but it is kind of a playground for people who are not doing the work themselves. So do the work on yourself, empower yourself, be the best person you can be. Yeah, this is what you have a choice over. And kindness is clever. You know, people say, oh, being kind to your ex and everything, you know, like a doormat. Kindness is like super clever. Yeah, it's strong. It's you being the better person, the bigger person, because you are the person that has to go to sleep with you for the rest of your life. And I'm just going to leave you with this, right? And the letting go and forgiveness, I mentioned that, but we've all met somebody who is divorced. And I want you to just take a moment to think about that person and how do they feel for you? When you mention divorce, how are they? Now, pretty much a lot of people, which is kind of one of the reasons why I work how I work, because I've just fed up of seeing it. I don't want people living the rest of their lives like that, is it just feels a bit icky and they're just like, oh my God, just don't want to talk about it, don't want to go there, because you just know it's all going to be like, right? Do you want to be that person in 5 years' time? That is my question to you. And it is about doing the work. And we all have to do the stuff we don't want to do to get to where we want to go, right? And if you don't want to be that person in 5 years' time, you still like you have a choice. And this actually leads nicely on to working with acceptance and letting go. It's about letting go of the small stuff, yeah? And it is about practicing acceptance and letting go. Just like holding on to it, because if you want your ex to do something and they never did it when you were married, they're certainly not going to do it when you're going through a separation and divorce. In fact, it's going to ramp up and they're going to dig their heels in more. So if it's something that you just know it's not going to change, accept that that's the way they are. At least you know who you're dealing with and how they behave in various different situations. I talk about forgiveness. 5 years' time, those people, they've got it all inside. Yeah. And there's that quote, and I'm probably going to forget about, oh, that's it. Like, holding anger is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. It sits within you. And people say to me, I'm never going to forgive them. I'm not going to forgive them. I have clients and they're on Zoom and they're all going, oh, no, no, no. And they're crying and they're going, not that I want to make my clients cry, but I'm like, you got to do it. And they're like, I know, I've got to do it, but I don't want to do it. Forgiveness is the healing. Forgiveness is the 5 years down the line, who is not that angry person, because your rest of your future life is worth more than that. You're worth more than that. Like, don't give your ex the satisfaction of knowing that you're still angry 5 years' time. Like, they've already had enough from you. This is about you moving forwards. And I'm really hot on this when I talk about it. And forgiveness, right? Try forgiving. You don't have to forget what happened, because in the not forgetting, you have the lessons. And this is the really important bit. Yeah. The not forgetting is the lessons. The forgiveness is the stuff that sits in you, and you don't want to take that forwards. Right. I think my kind of soapbox moments is nearly out. It's so nearly over. Right. So if you go deeper and deeper into your own heart, you'll be living in a world of less fear, isolation, and loneliness. And this is written by a wonderful mindfulness teacher called Sharon Salzberg, who does a lot of work with kindness and compassion. So the more work we do, go into ourselves, have a little look around, be with ourselves, be kinder to ourselves. You know, dare I suggest we love ourselves. You'll be living in a fear, right? Because you're not blocking it out. You're welcoming yourself in. You're just embracing and walking into your fears, you know, feel the fear and do it anyway. That famous book. These are my details. That is my book, Kindness for Conflict, A Guide to Separation and Divorce. And it's on Amazon. And I think I'm done. Thank you.
Wow, Tosh, that was brilliant. Thank you. That was really great. I want to do it all again and then go out for a glass of wine and ask you loads of questions, really. Thank you very much, guys. Your chat is brilliant tonight. I think there's a real, I don't know, a love of sharing. It's very warm, and I'm really, really chuffed. If anybody has any questions, can you bob them in the Q&A, obviously at the top, or feel free, you know, to bob some more chat in there. We'll be on for another 10 minutes or so. Now, there's a few things that I picked up that I think I'm going to be using a bit more, Tosh, really, and that's I've always talked to clients about when the relationship breaks down, about when they want to start new relationships, for example. I have seen people dive straight in, and it does worry me. But it's only later on in my career. It's only now I'm a bit older myself, and feel much more confident being very direct and facing this sort of thing head on. I will say to people, why didn't you have a pause? Why didn't you have a think? Because I have divorced people who've married the same type of person again. And it does happen. And I do think, and from my own experience as well, you do need to consolidate, you do need to recover, and it's a really important time, a really important moment. And another thing about just taking time, wow, I love your take 30 minutes before you pick the kids up. I think that's brilliant. I wonder if a lot of the calls we get on a Monday morning could be avoided if we are more proactive in terms of saying to our clients or talking them through their pickup routines.
Yeah. And what they can do, and just doing something that works for them, you know, whether that's going for a walk, going for a run, just doing some meditation, even if it's just some deep breathing in the car while you're waiting, staying off social media. Don't be tempted to go in and, you know, get upset. Just maybe just tune in, you know, I can do this, you know, do some affirmations to yourself, you know, I'm strong, I'm enough, I'm, you know, I'm safe, I'm loved, I am, you know, whatever.
And visualizing how well you want the pickup to go.
Exactly. Absolutely. That's brilliant. And just, yeah, and you know what, it's so nice when there's a good pickup. And I just want to add, actually, as a child of divorced parents, I literally used to dread Sundays because I knew at the end of the day there'd just be this really, really difficult time.
Yeah.
So, and this is not to guilt anybody out either. If you've had those, everybody's had those, right? But it's about minimizing those, you know, it's reducing those and just going, actually, that we can do this better. So just, yeah, be gentle on yourselves as well.
We get so caught up, don't we? And the momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get carried away before we stop to think. I wonder if we can circle back to one thing, and that's obviously we talked about how your friendship groups can change after separation. And quite often as adults, we find ourselves making new social connections, friendship groups and things. And I think it is hard making friends as an adult. I've come across that. I don't have any kids, so naturally, I think as a professional lady without any children, I don't have that kind of instant social life that you perhaps get. But have you got any top tips for making friends as adults?
So I just think you've got to go and do stuff that just makes you laugh, that's out of your comfort zone. I'm a sea swimmer and a cold dipper before I go throughout the year, and I'll go into the sea and kind of put something on my Instagram today. Actually, it was cold and it was really windy, but I was like, no, you get in that sea, girl. There's a really amazing organization. I'm going to be talking to the founder of the Blue Tits, and they have me in there as well, and it's a cold water swimming groups, and she's going to be on the podcast actually, which is great. I would say paddleboarding, we're coming into the summer now, reach out and do it. And you know what, even if you don't necessarily meet anybody, just it's about appreciating that everybody's had the courage as a single person or somebody who hasn't got anything to do at the weekend with children has shown up for themselves. And it's really about showing up and just talking and hanging out with people and acknowledging that you had the courage to do that. And I know this is all a bit water-based as well. There are so many, you know, there's meetups, I think it's meetup, yeah. And it's an online groups, and you just type in where you are and what groups come up and what you're interested in. And again, even if I went to a meditation group for about, I think it was Eckhart Tolle meditation group for a few weeks, which was great. I went to another meditation group, which was it was very funny. And just, you know, this is your opportunity to do things differently. And I'm a real big with my kind of coaching. It's about everything's different anyway. So do things differently. All those things that you used to love when you were younger that you probably haven't done because you've had children, or you've had, you know, you kind of got lost in the whole family way and doing things that your ex wanted to do. What did you love doing? And just, you know, we have the internet, you know, this is amazing. We don't have to get around all these notice boards, although there are lots of lovely things on notice boards, but we have so much to hand to look at what is going on. So get off social media, go and have a little look at what's happening and sign yourself up, learn something new. Online courses, you know, we can do online courses all the way around the world. And there are loads of amazing online courses which are really inexpensive if you're worried about money. You know, you create a community and you're learning something as well. I mean, that's
Brilliant. I love that. That's great. We've had a great suggestion in the chat. One of our listeners has suggested Bumble. I don't know if you know Bumble. It's the dating site, but there is a friends only section on Bumble.
Be interested to hear. I haven't done that. I don't know anybody who has done the friends bit, so I'd be interested to Laura, if you want to just maybe let us know. I can't, yeah. Interesting. That's good. And that's the site where women have to message first. So really it's a
Yes, I had an interesting experience where I signed up and then worked out I'd been swiping the wrong way for quite a considerable number of swipes. It took myself off rather promptly. That was some time ago, but hey ho, one of those heart-stopping moments where you think, oh God, should have read the instructions a bit clearer. Hey ho. Right.
I think the one thing we all have to remember in all of this, it's been interesting being out of group, and there's the Frollo app as well. Great. I love these suggestions. Yeah, Frollo app is brilliant.
Brilliant. I'm going to make a note of that.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
One of the things I was just thinking about is quite often is when you start going as a single person to when you're going out and about you're going to another family event, or you're going to another event, and you're feeling that, I suppose it's a degree of anxiety, isn't it, when you're going alone for the first time, and it could be the first time in years really that you're going to things on your own. I mean that you've just got to bite the bullet, I think, but any top tips?
Yeah, I do have a top tip. It's a bit of a mischievous one, but I'm all for mischief. I think there needs to be lots of mischief. So I always recommend to anybody who comes to work with me, the first thing they go and do, and it's for men as well and women, is they go and buy the most fabulous pair of red knickers.
Fabulous, great.
Because if nothing else, love a bit of mischief, you've got the best pair of fancy pants on probably in the room for starters. It makes you feel really great. And if you're into yoga and everything else, right, red knickers is around the root chakra, and that empowers you to feel stronger and to feel safe as well. So that is my top tip. I just feel like you got to start somewhere. And going into a family lunch, I remember going into a family lunch, and I remember there's like everybody's got their partners, and then you're like, and you've just got a good tip for the gym. You've just love that. Good tip for the gym. But you just got to go in there and go, right, I'm going to do it. It's going to be lots of firsts. And you just got to walk in, you put your shoulders back, and you go in there and you just do it. You just go, right, I am me. Do a few affirmations like I'm strong, I'm enough, I'm worthy, I'm all of that stuff. And just go in there and just go, right, this is it. And you know what? You don't really know what's going on in everybody's lives, who's got what thing going on that's making them feel as they're feeling. But all we have is ourselves. And that is what we do have ownership over.
Absolutely. And if people are a bit funny, it reflects on them, doesn't it? It circles back to that initial point you made that, people sometimes don't know what to do with you when you're newly single. But it normally reflects on the state of their own relationship or worries or concerns.
Yeah, put a divorcee into a room, and I think you kind of get the measure of what's going on. And we're all very well behaved as well, because that's the last thing we want is to go messing anybody else's relationship up. But it's it's a very curious thing. And you know what? And then you meet the best people. You meet, the more you focus on you and the more you come into your power, you just attract really great people who are doing the same things as well. If you're kind of like all small and angry and everything, it's like, get out there, look after yourself, get yourself fit, get yourself into a good place. And you just bring in, you attract like-minded people.
Absolutely. Surround yourself with good people. If you're going to be looking at a divorce, you need your mental health and your physical health.
And emotional health as much as you can. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I can sit and tell people that an awful lot, but I can't pick them up and take them out, or, go with them to the gym or things like that. I can only tell them to do. Sometimes it's do as I say, not as I do frequently, but hey ho. Right. Now.
That's where a good divorce coach comes in, though.
Absolutely. Yes, we'll be lost without you. When I started thinking about what it was like 15 years ago, The conversations we have with our clients now, and prioritizing their well-being and getting to know them better, it's fascinating. It really is a very different world now. And lovely to be able to actually make a difference in the way we train our junior lawyers. And also the well-being of the actual lawyers themselves is a lot more at the forefront of things, which wasn't obviously when we were kind of starting out and what have you. So generally it's a better place. So I think that the lawyers are better equipped to help, which is great. Anyone out there who is facing the prospect of having to engage a lawyer, you don't have to go with the first one you meet. Do a beauty parade. Please have the confidence to pick the person that's right for you. The majority of firms out there will all offer a free appointment. Go and test drive these people. Go and have a chat. Go and see how you feel about them. Trust your gut. You're going to be working with a divorce lawyer sometimes for possibly 12 months. And you're going to be sharing stuff with them that you probably wouldn't want to share with most people. So you have to go with your gut and you have to get the right person.
I think you're absolutely right when you say if it feels right, it is right.
Yes. Not to mention the money with them. God. And red knickers and divorce lawyers. There you go.
I know. I was in a party last year with some barristers. They didn't know what to say. I think that's the mischief. You've got to have mischief in life, whatever you're doing, whatever you're going through. You've got to find the mischief.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I really love that. I've got a day with my team tomorrow, actually, Tosh. I'm going to share a lot of this with them and get them to pass on a lot to their clients. And if you're up for it, I'd really love to have you back on this again. I think there's a few things we could pick up and perhaps elaborate on and move forward on. So that's lovely. Right, everyone, I'm going to bring everything to a close tonight because it's now, we have overrun as I thought we might do. It's now 6:30, after 6:30 rather. The next Stowe Talks may or may not be a topic for you. It is very niche. We are going to be talking about supporting neurodivergent children through divorce and separation. So it may be that listeners tonight are not up for that one. Totally understand. We do offer quite a few niche topics. As I say, content is driven by you guys. Let us know what you think of the webinars. Let us know what you want to hear about, and we'll do our best to make it happen. But for now, I'll say a big thank you to Tosh. I really appreciate it. I have loved tonight. I'm so excited about meeting you, and I'd love to see if we can do another one in the future. Hopefully Kate will get that sorted and organised for us. Guys, everyone who signed up, you'll get an email, obviously a follow-up email as usual, and the link for the recording. But thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening. Bye, Tosh. Bye.